Oh my. Unite Mics Mayhem week 4 well underway, and we have the finals set up and ready to go. Ascendance, TTV, two teams that if you followed this scene, you know about, and an absolute showdown. Like, this is a throwback to what, 7 months ago? Like, things that are absolute barn burners from A to Z. Two squads we couldn't ask better of to close out our first, we'll call it series, whatever, something that we intend on repeating, but what a great way to bookend this one.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, season 1 of Mayhem is going to come to an end with Ascendance versus TTV. You said it 7 months ago. I really do feel like I'm asking what year it is when it comes to ever seeing this game, especially when they're playing on these two team names more so than anything. It's where it really is a big shout to me. I'm excited we're seeing this matchup though in draft format. Does Zugrug get the Snorlax? Does Lutano get the Dodrio? And does Overlord just diff everybody on a Zera pick? I mean, so many questions that we need answered in these next 20 or so minutes.
I think the biggest question to me, Zoinks, is Book gonna go into Central? Is this the matchup where they say, okay, like, Book, you've had your fun on
Did they play game number 2? I don't know that for sure, for a fact.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I mean, they could bring in Slash, right? One of the best support slash tank players, depending on what Pokemon actually falls into that role, right? So tons of options here, tons of questions that need to be answered, and what better than the finals of week 4 of Unite Mics Mayhem.
Very, very true. Well, I have one other burning question is going to be relating to the coin, of course. What team is what? Now, this time I do have to ask you, because we do not have a top and bottom on our graphic. Who gets heads? Who gets tails?
So, Ascendance heads, TTV tails for alliteration. TTV tails.
I love that. Well, unfortunately, I don't get to give it to the alliteration. This is a heads, which does not work for an alliteration, unfortunately, but Ascendance is going to have their choice of first ban or second ban.
All right, and I threw the poll in the chat there. Who you got? TTV or Ascendance? Let's get after it.
Yeah, exactly. Make sure your voice is heard here on Unite Mics Mayhem. And before we get into the draft, as our teams are still kind of filling into lobby and everything like that, I think I want to just give a huge blanket thank you to the community of Pokemon Unite for supporting Unite Mics in general as a whole. You guys have supported our projects and things like that on this channel for a long, long time. But realistically, for supporting Unite Mics Mayhem these last 4 weeks. It has been so fun running these events. We really hope to do more in the future, maybe with sponsors, maybe with some more incentives, new formats, who knows. But we definitely want to keep doing it, but nothing could make us more excited about doing more in the future than the amazing support that you all have brought in here. But yeah. And yes, after the poll, we'll definitely have to do predictions because people want to gamble those channel points too, Snacks.
And it's just, you can never make anybody happy, Zoinks.
That is true.
I don't know how to do predictions. So I'm assuming if it's slash prediction, let me just see.
I'm pretty sure it is. Okay.
Okay, here we go. Who you got? There we go. The same thing. You can gamble your bucks away. Start prediction.
There we go. There we go. Let's bring up the draft again here while we have this all set up.
I don't know what I've done, but it doesn't look like anybody can actually vote on the prediction I created. So there you go.
Oh, no, I see it.
Oh,
yeah,
no, it's coming through. It's coming through.
People are throwing money. We obviously don't do enough of these. I saw an immediate 2.2 thousand. So clearly people have been holding on to these points for too long. Also, just a heads up on our draft and how that's going so far. We do have Ascendance making the selection, and they have selected to have first ban. So first ban, first pick. They only get one pick together. The second team having, second ban, of course, is going to be the advantage of picking 2 Pokemon in a row. But that being said, Ascendance still gets to pick first, which can never be understated.
For sure. I don't think the dichotomy changes. I think I'd still rather be second.
Okay.
But Ascendance still has the opportunity to force TTV into a ban, right?
Ooh.
So
yeah, they absolutely do. They've actually kicked things off with selecting the Sylveon as their first ban. I really do think they're playing both sides here. I like that.
No, I love that. So what they've done here is they've taken out pretty much what we've seen Otter play every single time we've streamed them. So they're kind of gutting that pick out from TTV, splitting their strategy up a little bit, and forcing TTV to ban Mr. Mime or let Ascendance have it. So I really like this approach from Ascendance. And if you were going to take first pick, this is the type of moves you need to be making.
Yeah, could not agree more. I like Ascendant's first ban here. I think TTV's ban is almost solidified right now as the Snorlax, or sorry, not Snorlax. I believe their first ban will be Mime. Of course it is. That is with a shadow of a doubt. But honestly, I feel like TTV kind of likes having Mr. Mime be their ban selection because I don't know if they would know what else to ban. They're very confident on this ban. They could just keep on doing that. They're going to keep pushing forward with it.
So, I mean, the argument you could make is you take something out of the hands of Overlord that can completely take over the game. Like, we've seen Overlord on Zarina absolutely ruin games. Like, shatter games to unrecognizable amounts. And Ascendance locking in the sword here that kind of feels like a Curious pick, right? That's a sword they've pivoted to that quite a bit. It has a lot of flexibility. It can go into the hands of Overlord, like you've mentioned before. So this is a way to solidify a good pick while still keeping your options open. TTV, however, has the choice of 2 on the hop, and they can really give themselves a good chance here. Blissey, even Blissey and Snorlax is huge.
Good intuition, Doom Snacks. Those are their 2 selections.
I mean, TTV is literally just building. They said, you want a matchup from 7 months ago? We got you, dog. Like, give me Blissey, give me Snorlax. We going to work. Ascendance, tons of great options on the board here. I wouldn't, you know what? Now that the Defender is off the board, I'm not even sure I go for Defenders. Like, I would just start hammering down absolute just knuckles to fist picks right now if I'm Ascendance. That's where I'm at, and then you just take whatever Defender's left because you're probably going to be fine.
Yeah, you just grab Slowbro, Mamoswine if things get ugly. You know, you just kind of find yourself in a pretty good spot otherwise. So Aegislash, like we mentioned, was there for the flexibility. Now Ascendance really gets to kind of iron out where their strategy wants to go. They are going to be taking some interesting selections here. Glaceon makes a lot of sense, but Dupsnax, they're leaning into that early success they've had as a team. They're going to be picking up Serena as their second pick.
Love that. Okay, so what Zarina does is it puts Curious on Sword, and it puts Overlord on Zarina, which is an absolute monster take over the game type Pokemon. TTV right now, I mean, when you look at Ascendance, when there's some of their pocket picks are what people would consider lower tier characters, right? Like Book on Cinderace is just built different, right? But that's not a character that you can objectively just like ban out or pick because you're never going to be able to leverage it like they can, which means it'll always look kind of sad and weird. So Ascendance being able to play to that advantage is building themselves an incredibly stout squad. TTV needs to figure out, okay, how do we mitigate that and how do we build around it? And you really need to like feed Retsu their pick. So if I'm a TTV right now, I'm on the comms, I'm saying, Retsu, who do you need to fight against this Overlord Zarina?
That's an interesting question. If I am on the side of TTV, you have Ender Blissey, right? One of the best selections and just player combinations you could truly have to help mitigate Overlord's impact on the game. If I'm TTV, I'm picking something like a Charizard here. And throwing that over, but no. Oh, of course. How did I not think about this? We have Azumarill and Absol being the selections here.
Oh, Absol strikes me as a bit odd. Azumarill makes tons of sense. It can 1v1 very well. It can definitely hold its own early game against Zarina for sure.
I think Absol, to me, plays out like an invade potential in that mid game, and also Retsu is just absolutely cracked on this Pokemon. Like that is another element that I think is just something that will be of an impact. With Azumarill being selected, I don't expect Lutano to be going over to a Dodrio pick. I'm sorry, chat. I think they will probably be picking up this Azumarill, but yeah, they're just really going hard on these up close and personal melee attackers. TTV with no range at all, Ascendance will be able to push a pretty big advantage with their Glaceon, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see how it actually plays out in game.
If I'm Ascendance, I'm thinking just off the cuff, I'm thinking Slowbro, maybe even a Surf Slowbro with Cinderace or something like that. just being able to engage, chip up just enough for Overlord to get in there. You still have some good range with Glaceon with those sure hit icy winds. You can clean up the trash Curios on the sword. And then, of course, if TTV comes back with no range, I mean, Book on Cinderace can take over. We know it. We've seen it. So, I mean, Ascendance, I don't want to say they're backed in the corner, but they do have a lot of good options that play to their skill sets to kind of mitigate this heavy melee comp that TTV is stringing together here.
Yeah, that's a really good shout. I think Slowbro would be awesome. I would also love a Tyranitar on the side of Ascendance. Just a late game takeover Pokemon that can do true damage and burst through the heavy defenses of Blissey, Snorlax, even Azumarill when it's in its Unite. Just to really have a big punch, just I win button. Ascendance could really use something like that, other than just the factor of Overlord on Serena. But I'm just still worried about that selection when you're headed into Indur's Blissey.
Yeah, so to your point, I think I want to play with space rather than in the face, right? TTV has clearly tipped their hand and saying, we're going up close and personal. And Tyranitar also does that, right? But TTV also has the ability to pressure Tyranitar out of the game right now with their composition between Azumarill and Absol. Wigglytuff is not bad. Now, it's going to have to be, it's like, in my mind... That's a rollout Wigglytuff. Has to be, right?
I don't know. I'm just so flabbergasted by this next pick. This next selection is going to be an Alolan Ninetales. I have to find where this Pokemon is on my screen. Otter VGC has impacted the team comp yet again. They have forced their team into an Alolan Ninetales pick.
Listen, if you're flexing for any player, Otter VGC is one of the best ones going. So, if he probably pulled up and said, I don't know, they banned Sylveon, give me a ham sandwich. I'm like, look, you can't pick a ham sandwich. He's like, whatever, give me the next closest thing to an absolute sandwich as you got. And they're like, okay, Alolan Ninetales, I guess. They're literally serving him the dregs, and he's going to leverage that to great success. They're going to hit level 4 instantly, and they're going to have a great time trying to bully early on Curios on the sword. I keep assuming that's where Curios is going because Overlord just seems more synonymous with Zarina to me.
Right.
So, whatever. Otter's feeling good. They're like, whatever. It's another level 4 spike, and I think I'm going to be fine out here.
Yeah. Okay, and I just have some roster updates on Ascendance, by the way. Jungle Book is out. They had to get back to, college or whatever. And so we have Elo, Curios, Overlord, Slash, and Fast. So Slash in for Jungle Book, pretty much.
Okay, so first off, for the record, Ascendance, we ain't giving you any more money. It's $100. Just because you have to split it 72 ways doesn't mean you're getting any more. All right.
Okay, I'm glad we have that established. Good call.
Come on, like you can't. Jesus, they coming out with a 40-man NFL football team roster out here. 3 deep on quarterbacks. Like, relax a little bit, Ascendance. I know your Discord has like 2,000 people in it. Doesn't mean they all need to play today. You know what I'm saying? Holy smokes! All right, let's take a look. Otter
Retsu
on that
with the goal scoring button. That jumps out to me.
I love the goal scoring and no stack items. Very unique approach here as they're going crit items. They're going scoring. They all about that action. Let's see what else we got here. Anything that stands out. Overload on Zarina. We kind of saw that coming. Elo back on Glaceon. They did great work. Yep. Shell Bell with that cooldown reduction. We know where they're going. Yep. Baz on Wigs. Look, everybody knows I like to new boot goof. All right. Everybody knows I like my Wigglytuff with a little sing. I like to wear the Celine Dion, the black dress with the gold chain, Hollowware. So, I'd love to see Faz take over the game with some Wigs action. I love that Pokemon. I love Slowbro. I mean, really, this Ascendance team plucking at my heartstrings, Zoinks.
Yeah, I am excited to see them playing it. I'm actually a little surprised about the player selection to who's playing it. I kind of imagine Faz is going to go over to the Slowbro and we would have Slash pick up the Wiggly, but whatever. I mean, they can make either direction work. A little bit of a 2-1-2 spread here for Ascendance, where on the other side, we have a little bit of a split central with Indur on this early intel play, just trying to block any kind of invasion strategy from Ascendance.
I love how Ascendance is going straight. You said 7 months ago, we're bringing out everything from 7 months ago. The 2-1-2. Just all these picks here. You gotta love it. Slash kind of getting bullied a little bit. Zugrug playing forward. Otter's still trying to find their spike. Level 3, not level 4 quite yet. Indy getting chunked as well as here comes Overlord and Faz just trying to put the pressure on Indy. Gets out with just a sliver of health, but Elo's in the mix with that big time Icy Wing, going to be able to do some big damage. Zugrug on the pushback, and you have to be impressed with how far forward Zug always plays.
I mean, with that, and then how many KOs and not the other direction they go. I mean, the fact that they play this far forward, they're just such an intimidating factor. I mean, sometimes you play in Pokemon Unite games and you see a username and you just play differently because of it. Oh my gosh, that crit. And I think that Zugrug is one of those players.
That was a huge crit and an absolutely monster rip as the Absol rips a chunk through Ascendance's HP, gets a KO, and opens the door for all the birds to go into their hands there. Great look by TTV as Curios is still that Hanage trying to tick over into that dual-wheeling double-8.
Yeah, some big scores going in here for Retsu, not even playing that stacking Pokemon like we were mentioning, but still, that little bit of score shield might be a difference maker when Retsu needs to try to just goal score for the sake of staying up and staying ready to fight. Sometimes that score shield can come in clutch in these little micro engages.
Yeah, Zugrug coming in. I love the Surf Slowbro here. That's exactly the type of Pokemon I was hoping we'd see. They don't really need the Scald. They need to be able to get their players into the action, right? By just a tick of time for Overlord to get into the game. As Overlord's working through these middle, and here's Elo with the support. Big time engage by Retsu as they're trying to find their way in. Overlord's getting absolutely chunked. Elo can't save them. They're chucking as much damage as they can. That's a KO on the Slowbro. Are you kidding me? Overlord's still standing. This kid's just built different. Overwatch, what? They finally got a couple KOs, went down themselves, but they made them pay as TTV is just shocked at what just happened in the face of a 3-on-1.
I want to believe that it was impossible to plan, but because it's Overlord, maybe it was. They got the evolution iframes there right when the Absol dashed in, so completely avoided any of the damage there from Absol's big engage with just that little bit of evolution play there, and it was very impressive if it was intentional. That's all I'm saying.
Ascendance pulling up for the support right on time. Yes, 2 players go down in the top path here, and it's going to let Retsu get a ton of experience. That's what they want, as here comes Overlord yet again on a 3-on-1. They're full HP, and they've got an opportunity here, but Lutano's fighting alone, and they're trying to get in there as Indy's on the leash, and they're on the retreat. Overlord not letting anybody off the hook, gliding around, going to have to get these wild Pokemon. Getting level 8, still stands in the face of 3 players, and Overlord is just an impressive player to watch.
They just make it seem so easy. Like, they just seem so comfortable somehow. I'm watching a Pokemon running around a in-the-sky stadium, and yet this arena looks more comfy than anybody else playing it. It's really impressive to watch. Now, on the other hand, we have Otter on this Alolan Ninetales, who hasn't had too much of an impact yet, but they're not exactly having a quiet game either, almost at that level 8. That's a pretty big turnaround, but let's jump to the top path here while Overlord is trying to fight up against Retsu when they just launched in a big Unite move. Overlord outlasts, though.
Yeah, and Elo has their Unite as well, as there's 4 players in their face. They're stomping around. They're trying to do some damage to this goal zone. Retsu not letting them off the hook, trying to get some damage in themselves. They're working through. Indy's in there for the support, just trying to pick them up and keep them going. But now that the goal zone's broken, they've got an opportunity. Blitz Distance comes through. This might be a receipt, but that's a Zarina Unite back the other way. And now they're trying to find more bodies. There's 2 players down for TTV, and Ascendance is all over them. It's Overlord not letting anybody breathe out here as they're scoring points in Lutano's face. Big time surf to buy Overlord time to get out here. And now Lutano has to be on the chase on the slow, bro, and Overlord is still stacking. That's communication, my friend, as Lutano's trying to get back into it, but here comes Faz with the sleep, and the Slowbro gets the KO back on Lutano. Are you kidding me? Ascendance is moving as a unit here and making it look easy.
And not only that, in all the meantime, Curios actually secured the Regirock in the bottom path. So a 1v1 win for them as well when this big team fight win for Ascendance was happening here in the bottom path. Overlord does get the buff as well. Double stomp combo with Starlight Recital is going to give them the healing they need to stay up in this fight. Indy gets low, and that double stomp is going to be just the amount of damage they need to find it.
Finally KO'd, but what damage has been done here as the rest of the team's moving through. They're getting another KO, and you said the Starlight Recital, but they were hitting right notes, using the Sing at the same time, putting them to sleep while keeping the team up, and that's exactly what you wanted. Your support Pokemon. Now Ascendance is just sieging another goal zone. Like, yeah, you took out Overlord, but there's still 4 more players on the map, Chief, and we're world champions. We moving out here. We schmoving out here, and you didn't even make it to that event. Zugrug trying to do some work, pick up the rest of the squad, but TTV's got miles to climb right now.
Faz has been moving really, really well. It's showing off those MOBA mechanics from that top position, you know. Omega Striker's been paying off extremely well for this player.
Come on. Why we can't just be plugging other games out here. We already plugged Overwatch 2 like 78 times, but Ascendance,
True.
you know, if that's what they needed to heat up their fingers, they sure as heck found it, because TTV, what was looking oppressive the rest of the time, Ascendance is looking impressive right now.
Yeah, definitely. Curios here does get hit up by Zugrug's Heavy Slam, but they do not have any boosted autos yet readily available. If they had a full stack of 4, I guarantee they're taking that fight versus Zugrug, but now that they're more stacked up and Overlord's a little bit of the spearhead, they can look for a bigger push. This Reggie has spawned in now, though, but Ascendance is only worried about positioning.
Well, the fifth graders just called in their big brother from high school to come take care of their bullies, because here comes Overlord coming through, pushing in the face of TTV, and that's an Elo Unite coming through, buying so much time, so much purpose, and Overlord is just sending them. Finally resets and goes, hey, this is sorted out, right? We took care of the big one. We're going to send everybody else. They're taking the basement Reggie for themselves. Lutano's trying to find an opportunity to do some good out here, and Slash is just tanking in front of this Retsu, and Bliss Assistance comes out on Lutano, but I can't find that too much purchase in this, as Slash is still holding it down, and they're still moving through, and Ascendance is still standing in the face of all these Unite moves just getting chucked into their grill.
How is Curios? Okay, finally Curios goes down. They stayed up for an absolutely absurd amount of time. Bliss Assistance there should have been the ability to knock them out, but they stayed up and running. Elo gets a knockout as well, but in the meantime, Overlord and Faz are finding ways to make TTV's life an absolute nightmare.
Well, that's because they've both been truck and trailer with Overlord, right? When Overlord's feeling good, Overlord's saying, all right, Faz, you good? Sing's on cooldown, let's get into it. There goes Faz right into the sleep, putting him to sleep. Here comes Overlord, stomping him down. Starlight Recital comes out, and that's Unite move back the other way. And now Zugrug's getting chunked, and TTV sent scrambling, even though it's a 3-on-2. They're just moving very well in tandem. Another Sing comes out, and another person asleep. And this time it's Snorlax going down voluntarily to sleep here, as Overlord's trying to find their way out, and the Regieleki is taken, and that's all the time that they needed. They were on just on a stall job out here. Overlord doesn't really care if they go down, but they're still going to be doing a ton of damage on the way out, and Regieleki's flying in the face of TTV, giving themselves something else to think about right now.
Now Elo's job is to just buy time for their team. I mean, a couple of players are going to be up off of respawn in time for the final stretch, but they're not going to have their Unite moves. If Elo can just play this huge damage arsenal that Glaceon has available to it well enough, they'll be able to buy time for the rest of their team to get back into the fight and farm. Speaking of which, Elo's been doing that all game long. 14 and a third level experience on this Pokemon. I feel like they haven't been that involved in fights, but in the meantime, they've been split pushing, they've been finding XP every single place they can, almost at that level 15 mark for Elo.
Well, my boy Harvest Moon, they've been farming out here, and they're finding those Icy Winds, and they're finding their targets as Ascendance is taking over this central part of the map, and that's a big-time score there by Retsu. There's that goal getter coming through, bringing the lead a little closer together, but it's going to be about this Rayquaza fight.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Ascendance is definitely postured up much closer to it. They also have a composition that is very, very strong at burning it, but they'd have to worry about an enemy team locking them up in place. Utano takes up a lot of early damage, but Ender very cautiously holds on to their Unite move, does not let that one go too early.
Zugrug chips up Slash and tries to push them back, but Slash makes their way out with the Surf. A great Surf before we saw in that engage. They actually calculated it perfectly, so it went through, hit the other players, but they didn't go anywhere. And here you have Overlords trying to smother Retsu. Retsu uses their Unite move, and a Bliss Assistance comes out onto the Azumarill. Lutano's going to have to try and leverage that a little bit. Sing goes right into the face of Lutano. They're buying time, but the rest of the squad, as the Icy Winds are trying to find their mark, nobody's down yet, but the action is underway here in the bottom pass. They're moving forward. Big time engaged. Unite move by Elo comes out, and finally Lutano falls, and Slash is trying to push into the pressure as Faz is on the chase with their own Sing. Overlord just doing their own dance over here with the Rayquaza as Retsu's hanging out up top. They're going to have to try and isolate them and ping them down. Big time engage as Otter getting eaten up here, and the Retsu's just chewing up on Overlord as Overlord's trying to double stomp their way into victory. And the Unite move, the Absol for a KO. That's huge. 2 players down for TTV, and now Ascendance is moving in the face, but the score line is 3 points apart. Zoinks, 4 players down for TTV. Are you kidding me? Ascendance, all they have to do is bubble out Lutano. This is Azumarill, and they're scoring. They're taking Rayquaza. They're putting pressure every which way, and TTV needs to find a way to stem this bleeding, because holy smokes, they are hemorrhaging out here. Call an ambulance.
Yeah, Rayquaza about to go down as well. Azumarill trying to get in 50 points in the ending moments here. They'll definitely be able to score it, but that being said, Curios is able to get in a hundo burger of their own, making sure that any hope that TTV had is dashed away. The Alolan Ninetales not the answer in game number 1, as Ascendance gets the first win of our best of 3 series.
Ascendance with the absolute Soul Reed with Slowbro, Wigglytuff as the last two picks. You cannot talk about this game without talking about those two players literally being the keys to the castle and unlocking every single door for Overlord, Curios, and Elo from top to bottom. Great play by the defender and support player in this one.
And I mean, again, my silent MVP in this game is just gonna be Elo. Every single time things started getting hairy, it was always Elo who was just taking over the game in terms of damage. Everything TTV had would be thrown at an offense directed at Overlord, directed at Slash or Kyrios. Even if they found those KOs, the Glaceon was a difference maker at the end. Of course, that wouldn't happen like you were mentioning with the great supportive play of both Faz and Slash, but I know we shout out a lot of these players, but I really do think that Elo is becoming this silent celebrity in my mind.
Yeah, they're so used to being in Hoopa jail from what we've seen them that them getting to flex their muscles a little bit and deal some damage must feel good. 95k from them and really just outpacing everyone else in this one.
Yeah, Lutano with some pretty impressive damage numbers as well. I do not want to undersell how well they were playing on that Azumarill selection. It was very, very strong, but I'm just going to say it. I'm missing the Dodrio. I am missing the Dodrio pick.
Dodrio was mean, nasty, looked good last week. It looked good earlier today for week 4. Have some fun. Lutano's been having fun on that character. You know what? Cut him loose. That's what I say. Get after it. Get after it.
Yeah, it seemed like the Absol with the goal getter was kind of filling that same role that the Lutano's Dodrio would fill anyways. So I really would like to see that selection on that player. I mean, Azumarill is really good, but you can't really let that fall into the very capable hands of Ascendance and Overlord. So I understand that, but man, Serena, a Pokemon we really haven't seen take over the metagame in quite some time, just doesn't have some great matchups specifically into Mr. Mime and Mew. But when those aren't available in-game, they really can still run riot.
Yeah, so TTV's in a position where they can take first pick, and they can, you know, whatever, ban Zarina, doesn't matter, just for example, and put Ascendance on either banning Mime or Dodrio, and then you've kind of unlocked that for yourself for the rest of the game. Because I don't necessarily see Ascendance picking Dodrio as a counter pick to TTV, so you don't even necessarily have to first pick it in my mind. But at least TTV can jockey themselves into a position where if they desperately want that Dodrio, they can get it, or they can get Constellation Mr. Mime, which is kind of huge.
Yeah, no, I love Constellation Mr. Mime. It's my favorite kind of Mr. Mime. But it is still a Mr. Mime. So you always got to be afraid of how powerful that Pokemon is in this metagame. I mean, there's a reason it has been banned again and again. Now, just a reminder, if you are joining us for the first time for Unite Mics Mayhem, this is the final week of our invitational series. The teams that win in our Unite Mics Mayhem are always invited back to the next week. They get to choose the next format for the following tournament, and of course, are given a $100 cash prize. Unfortunately, the last one is going to be the only factor in today's tournament. We are ending season number 1 here, but we are hoping to bring you more Unite Mics Mayhem action in the future.
Without a doubt. So that being said, every dime for this has come out of our own pockets. If you're looking for a straight up sponsorship to get your, you know, for a whole week, or if you want to do the whole series, by all means, we're not going to take a cut of it. It's literally just going to be transitioned from you to the players with all your branding on the stream itself. This is really an opportunity to try and bring more competitive action with unique formats to the community. Again, we don't do this to make the money, just like our emote initiative. We donate the money there, but this would literally be just a transposition of the money into the prize pool. Nothing goes into our hands. So if that's something you're interested in, getting your branding all over this thing, please don't hesitate to let us know. And Ascendance come through with another Sylveon ban and a direct Otter, just Achilles heel slashing.
That is true. That is very true. Okay, and 2 seconds, if you could just give the chat what they so desperately want. If you could get that end of the prediction there for them. People need to gamble again, if they can have it. But all right, we have TTV with a bit of a response ban. They are going to be banning Serena for their selection. Now, this is an extremely, extremely pivotal ban right here, because this means that Ascendance has the choice to pick the Mr. Mime. This This would be its debut here in week number 4. It has been permanently banned so far every single game. It would be an absolute shock to see it without being selected. Now, does Ascendance favor it enough to first pick it? Because you know it's going over to TTV if they don't select it.
Yeah, we're seeing a mime in this game.
Yes,
that's
true.
without a doubt. That's without a doubt. Honestly, Ascendance has so many solid players that I would just take the strongest character available. I'd take Mr. Mime. TTV's going to have 2 picks, and I'm not even sure you care about them because you've got Mr. Mime.
Exactly. Well, you are correct. Mr. Mime has been selected by Ascendance to the shock of the entire world. Mr. Mime has been the first pick here for Ascendance. TTV now gets 2 picks in a row.
Yeah, so, you can get Blissey Snorlax again. It definitely looked good, and it wasn't necessarily the reason that this last game went sideways for you. However, when you pick those 2, you're not really taking anything away from Ascendance, right? You already did that with your Zarina pick, so it's tough. Does Ascendance really want a Snorlax? Probably not. You might be able to sandbag that till later in the match. Would they want a Blissey? Probably. So maybe that's in your first 2 picks?
Yeah, oh, that's an interesting question, actually. Did they pick a Snorlax or a Blissey? Like, which one gets favored here? Well, Doofsnacks, I think we've said this a lot on this broadcast, but why not both? They are going to select both Blissey and Snorlax for their first 2 selections in the draft.
So, that's a nod to the strength of Indy and Zug as players and as individuals on those characters, that they want them and they feel very convinced that those are the recipe for success. What you've left on the board for Ascendance is Glaceon. You've left the Sword. You've left the Slowbro. You've left the Wigglytuff. So many good options for Ascendance here. All you've really taken away from them right now is the Zarina, and now they have a Mr. Mime to bat with.
It's wild that all of this, tumbling down in terms of draft to, terror is just for picking Serena instead of Mr. Mime. With this strategy of favoring this Serena band so heavily, a Pokemon that Ascendance picked up around in the middle of their draft, even closer to the end of it, in our game number 1, you have now given Ascendance Mr. Mime and the chance to pick some of the other most broken Pokemon in the entire format.
Which, it's kind of a shock to me why the picks actually haven't come in yet. I kind of feel like Ascendance has their opportunity for all of the Pokemon that could ever dream of. And there's one, the Pokemon that they first picked last time. And Glaceon, just another powerhouse here. And we saw Elo take over the game in that character as well. So,
yep.
Ascendance is poised right now with a very, very, very strong draft.
All right, TTV, the game hasn't even started, and it really does feel like their backs are up against the wall. That being said, Ascendance does have a game 1 lead right now. We're just playing this out in a best of 3, so we are potentially on match point here. And Ascendance is definitely having a fantastic draft so far. TTV, though, selecting Snorlax and Blissey is a pretty solid core, but the workarounds that they need to do to still find value on these other selections is going to be a bit tougher. I really expect an Azumarill pick here out of TTV. It definitely never seemed to be the problem in terms of how TTV's composition is working, but they could also pick up the Absol. I know they definitely wanted it to try to fight against this Glaceon. Did not see that come to fruition in game number 1, but maybe they have a strategy that they want to manipulate to try to make it happen in game number 2.
Listen, you mentioned the great foundation that is Snorlax and Blissey, but you can have the thickest concrete foundation on planet Earth. If you make your house out of matchsticks, it ain't going to last too long. So TTV has got to find a way to combat the powerhouse picks that are literally Glaceon, Mime, and Aegislash. And they need to sort this out in these 2 picks. These are the 2 most crucial picks for TTV in the draft, more so than even their first 2. Right? Their first 2 gave them the foundation, but this is what you're building your house out of, and they need some absolute mutants in these 2 spots.
Yeah, could not agree more. Like I said, I really, really want that Azumarill selection to come out from them, but we could have some other ones, and all right, they are throwing all their eggs into this basket. We have a Dodrio selection from TTV, as well as Tyranitar.
Okay, so so essentially what they're looking to do now is hold on, feed this Tyranitar and let it take over the game. Lutano needs to look to be an absolute menace on this Dodrio. They need to cause havoc. They need to essentially do what Greedent does in the days of old, right? just be a thorn in the side and keep Ascendance from achieving their routine game plan.
Yeah.
If they can do that and buy enough time for this Tyranitar to step into its own, get to that level 9, and engage in a big way, you got yourself a real chance here.
True. Hey, and let's face it, Retsu's T-Tar is nice. Like,
it is.
Nice. They were finding KOs even well in the early stages as pre-evolutions, Larvitar and Pupitar, and that is not an easy feat to do. So if Retsu can really take over, even early game, I know it's a late game powerhouse. No one is doubting that at all, especially against Aegislash. I mean, does true damage, right? And when you're in shield form on Aegislash, you have some of the highest defensive stats of the entire game. Well, T-Tar don't care. T-Tar just hit for good damage, white numbers.
Very true. Very true. It's a matter of getting to T-Tar, though.
Yeah.
And Ascendance has been known, I mean, look at their composition, right? I mean, Glaceon spikes very early. Mr. Mime is a house from the jump. That's why, to me, T-Tar is your route to success, but it's paved with the Dodrio work ahead of it.
I think Dodrio is a great selection, especially with how well I think it plays into Glaceon when on the invasion. Glaceon, a Pokemon that does extremely well when it has an experience lead. It's definitely one of those Pokemon that I like to call win more. But when a Dodrio is just playing that thorn in your side, stealing your experience, getting you down to half HP whenever you just think you're completely safe, all of those moments, TTV can really turn around into big advantages. Now, Ascendance is going to be picking up the Delphox and Wigglytuff to round out their selections.
Not a bad setup here. That Blissey is going to have more things to worry about than, for example, a Wigglytuff Sing. I don't see it coming off Safeguard regardless because of the Delphox pick in tandem with that. But it's going to have a couple other things to babysit. So, and not a bad pick if you're Ascendance, and that's obviously a tilt to maybe Faz going to be picking up the Wigglytuff again and feeling very good. Or if Faz is going to be on Mime, big question mark there.
Sure, yeah, that is an interesting question. I think it's going to be Slash on the Mime. That would make the most sense to me. And then Faz just plays it up and, keeps those new boots that they were goofing on. That would make the most sense to me. But realistically, both these players could adopt that role and look phenomenal in it in either direction. So I'm not going to be shocked either way. Well, we have TTV typing right now, selecting their final Pokemon. Chat, TTV's composition is looking strong, but they decided to destroy my faith in it, and Alolan Ninetales has been selected again.
Jesus. Otter said, "Look, that's Otter said you didn't give me a big enough sandwich last time. I want a side of fries with this dud here." And I want to be a Alolan Ninetales believer, and if there's one player that can do it, it's Otter, baby. So, what do you say, Alolan Ninetales? I'm hungry to see a performance here.
All right, yeah, they definitely have a strategy they want to pull off. I don't know if we've seen it be pulled off yet, but hopefully game number 2 is the place to do it. Your backs are against the wall. Ascendance has that 1-game lead. This is your chance to go out to be the victors of Unite Mics Mayhem Season 1. Best to do it in this game number 2.
Yeah, they get to wear the crown, and heavy is the crown, as Ascendance would love to add another piece of, I guess this would be virtual hardware with their real hardware from Worlds here. So Ascendance going to try and end this thing early, get themselves their money that they're going to split 48 ways. TTV trying to keep their hopes alive.
Yep, here we go, TTV. We already know their Pokemon selections. Obviously, some interesting builds across the board. I like the weakness policy scope lens from Retsu. Some people may put a muscle band in place of that score shield. Okay, that makes more sense. Attack weight finds its way onto this Pokemon. I think score shield is a little troll. I'm happy to see this. Curious on that full cooldown Delphox with the Buddy Barrier selection. Definitely don't see that every day on this Delphox pick.
Yeah, they're looking to do some work out here as Faz picks up the wigs and slashes on Mime as you predicted here, and Overlord Sword, which is never something to be trifled with.
Definitely not. The Oversword has caused fear across the entire globe, specifically, of course, in the UK recently, but still an extremely strong pick on an extremely strong player. It's something that TTV is going to have to work really hard to try to defeat. Specifically, Otter is going to need to use those Unite moves extremely early. Aegislash is going to be a Pokemon that will absolutely eat you up unless you have some kind of get off me tool. And Snow Globe is definitely a tool you can use, but you cannot use it too little too late.
That's exactly right. TTV really needs to feed Retsu on this Tyranitar here and get them going early, as Retsu is going to be stacking and trying to get big quick.
Are they stacking? Oh, okay. Stacking just to get their levels up. I don't believe they're running stacking items as far as I remember on Retsu. But yes, getting those levels up.
I thought he switched off the buddy barrier to attack weight in the last second.
Probably. Someone check the VOD. I could be terribly wrong. Otter is trying to stop Slash's early scoring here. Wow, a lot of early damage going in. Slash is running double stacking themselves, though. Special attack specs and Ao's Cookie. They will happily go down for that value of the early score.
It's Curios is just trying to get their own experience, but Otter and Zug playing very far forward, looking for that that body to take here, and they're going to try and bully Curios around, but here comes Slash, level 3, ready to go. It depends who seals up this Indy, who gets it. I think it's Slash off the rip that gets it, but Lutano getting a KO up top on the central area player, Elo, no less.
Yeah, I know that scoring mechanic of Dodrio really paying dividends already. Oversword, though, does get a big KO, becomes 2 Overswords, and is trying to chase down Retsu. Try attack enough to push him off, and Retsu and Lutano pose around the birds, but Elo, a little bit too much of a threat for them to get any of that experience.
Yeah, just enough to bubble off TTV so Ascendance can get all those birds just in time to start working into the middle here. But look at the spacing that Faz's Sing gets them. They're going to be on the chopping block here. But a good cover with the Icy Wind forces Lutano back the other way. And yes, they're double buffed, and they're taking into that central area and trying to bully Elo a little bit as they're going in. They're chunking them down, and it's a huge time KO. And they're going to take everything from Ascendance's side of the board.
Lutano is absolutely cracked on this triple-headed bird for what it's worth. A nice full heal to get out of Faz's sleep as well. Actually earns themselves a KO. Ender all of a sudden shows up here trying to get a bit of a credit, but Lutano is the first one to hit level 7 in our lobby.
Absolutely huge is Lutano. If everybody else is riding on a bike with training wheels, Lutano is like on the mountain bike with the baseball cart and the spokes, making all the noise, coming through, getting it done. And it even has the speed to retreat out of that Sing and not get caught up. And that's giving tons of time for Retsu to get big, already level 6 themselves, and a great place for them to be as Slash is going to get buckled by TTV, and another KO for Lutano on this Dodrio makes you think why they weren't on this thing from the jump.
Yeah, Lutano almost at level 9 already. This is absurd. Right now, their experience lead is soaring ahead. Ascendance definitely showcasing a couple players up towards that Regieleki, but still committing 3 Pokemon down here into the bottom path with only 10 seconds until those objectives spawn in, really mean that their attention is going to be split. It's up to TTV where they want to push their advantage and see which direction they want to go in terms of objective focus.
Well, they've completely isolated Slash, and they get buckled very quickly. Big time block by Zug, and good amount of DPS by Otter as well to help close the door on that. As look at how far Lutano's come through, getting 1 KO on the Glaceon, eviscerating them. Going to get credit for 2. No, Indy just cheeks in for a little chip shot to get credit for that second one. But this looks like a completely different TTV team.
Yeah, exactly. Ender finding themselves in the central area, just looking to see if they can catch someone off guard, or at least find out where the enemy team is rotating to. Faz bringing that goal zone down ever so low here, getting it primed up so Overlord can get the big KO on it, but Retsu has hit that level 9. Tyranitar is on lock, and they are already looking to see how they can defend their goal zone.
Here comes Lutano for the support as they're pushing back the Sword. The Sword is trying to find their way in. Overlord's trying to find their mark. There's 3 players now for TTV to do the goal zones. And big time Sing catches 2, but the Unite move comes back out. Retsu's trying to find their mark and see if they can get a KO, and they do. Overlord goes down to Retsu. They're pushing forward. That's 2 players now for Ascendance. They're trying to hold it down, but it's TTV making a very solid defensive stand with just Lutano chasing down Slash and getting another KO for themselves in short order.
Zugrug with nice timing there. I think if they showed up just a second later, Overlord might have found the opening they needed to get the KO on Tyranitar, but a big block from Zugrug really opened up a lot of space for them. Now Retsu is able to push back in and easily set up a KO for Lutano.
As Kyrios darts in and tries to set things ablaze here, and TTV gets chunked down. Zugrug forces out the Unite move. They're going to be able to KO here on the Wigglytuff as Faz actually sings to get out, and Zugrug's trying to support the squad. Retsu looking for their way in, but Overlord boosted autos out as all of Ascendance is sitting on their own goal zone, trying to just get a deep breath here.
Slash was like, I thought you guys told me this Pokemon is broken. What's happening? Retsu gets a big push in, getting a lot of damage. A big isolation there from the Snorlax, pushes Kyrios away, but they throw out that Delphox Unite move, maybe just for the Buddy Barrier HP, so they have a bit of an escape tool.
Retsu had picked up the Bliss Assistance, wasn't able to find anybody on Ascendance to leverage. They're Ascendance to leverage it. They're pushing far forward, and Retsu buying time with a little bit of that just halitosis breath, trying to bubble it out as more points are going in, but it's Regieleki taken by Ascendance. Good work by Overlord. They're going to get KO'd for that effort, I believe, as the Snorlax goes down, and Lutano takes them back the other way, and this Regieleki is pushing to the face of TTV in a decent stand from Ascendance, who is looking a little shaky early here.
Yeah, Kyrios finds a really nice mystical fire there, threads the needle, absolutely. Faz is able to scare away Lutano enough with that Sing. Elo's damage with that special attack buff, with the defense drop that is from sleep, which has been too much. They definitely would have taken out that Dodrio, but the Dodrio revenge is true, and they just take the team fight somewhere else on the map.
Yeah, I mean, that kid is motoring around this map, finding it like highway, just chunking it for half HP, getting that closed out. Elo has to get away from this Dodrio in short order. Big time Sing comes through. They're knocking into it, but that scoring pattern of Dodrio doing good work, allowing it to get some points, and as Faz is fighting from their own goal zone. They're so low. Lutano not able to close it out, but they're going to get more points in for that effort. Slash is coming in. That power swap, that guard swap comes in just a bit shy. I don't know if you saw that, Zoinks, but it didn't find its mark. Now the Delphox Unite comes out. Curious is trying to leverage it. Zugrog's trying to take this thing, but it's, of course, it's Overlord again, sealing it up. No matter what we say, TTV looks like they've been in charge, but Ascendance is finding a way to keep themselves clawed into this one. KO got 2 for Kyrios. Holy smokes, heating up here as they're pushing this goal zone. Big block by Zug, going to try and isolate some players from Ascendance, and here comes Retsu trying to get KOs, but they get eaten up by the sword straight to the forehead. 21 Savage, and Ascendance is all over this goal zone. They're trying to convert now. It's TTV's falling like dominoes, and they're getting so many points in down here. Ascendance looking frosty, Zoinks.
The wild part about this game is that it's so incredibly close. We are literally 1 point away from each other at this 3-minute mark. TTV definitely was soaring ahead in this early game, but Ascendance, thanks to Overlord's really clutch objective secures and Kyrios finding teamfight wins even when at a disadvantage, has been pushing them back in this game. Now all of a sudden the level experience is almost at parity, if even a favor towards Ascendance right now, and TTV is on the back foot. They have a 3-point lead, but that's next to nothing in this final moments.
If they can sort out Lutano, I think the rest of TTV kind of falls. That is such a critical source of damage for them, and Slash is just swapping onto everyone here. Zugrug's block is going to fall short, not find anybody. There's one player down for Ascendance, and where do you know? Lutano's going straight for the goal zone here. They're scoring points. They're on the backside everywhere. Overlord getting chipped up by Zugrug. They're going to get blocked as well, but Overlord finds themselves on the backside of that. They're looking for the engage. They're slashing around. If they can get a KO, that's huge. Retsu's trying to convert back on Overlord. Overlord says, nah, I'm good here. I'm going to back off, and Ascendance looks like they might get Regieleki for the low price of free, but here comes Otter to be a spoiler here. Just throw some hair in the soup. They don't care as Regieleki's moving forward. Elo gets credit for that, and that's a forced out Unite move by Otter. Faz is low, but here comes Kyrios for the huge save, and the huge gut shot takes them out.
And Regieleki is still cruising down. Lutano is here to try to fight some things, though. They get a KO streak at 2. Both Overlord and Faz are down, but they can't turn their attention to the rest because they have to focus on this Regieleki.
Yeah, and then Elo's darting out here trying to buy time as the rest of TTV's trying to reset, and Ascendance is just trying to make sure they can get back into the action here. They're waiting for Oversword to come through, and they need that player. That is just a crucial component to their strategy, as Otter is still working on that Regieleki. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I mean, split push is definitely in the playbook here for TTV. They do have a Dodrio, and they have a pretty sizable point lead in these final moments. They can get little micro plays the entire time and force Ascendance to stress a little bit. Overlord starts the Rayquaza, if only to get some damage coming out of that large dragon onto the other team.
Big boosted auto comes through. Zugrug's trying to sort it out. Big block is going to come back into the face of Ascendance, but they're pushing into them. Back the other way. Delphox Unite comes out. Jesus. Elo's Unite comes out. Everybody's Unite comes out. 2 players down each way, and they're going to try and find some purchase here as Retsu picks up the Bliss Assist. So they're trying to find it. Just trying to leverage that back. There's 2 players down still on Ascendance. TTV is down a player here to Ascendance. They're going to try and rip this through this Rayquaza as it's just Retsu and it's just Indy trying to hold it down in the face of this squad.
Yeah, right now this little damage core plus Mr. Mime is proving too much of a problem for TTV to try to figure out. There's only 30 seconds left in the game though, and Retsu making this push here is a pretty big moment. Curios gets that final last hit onto it. Elo gets themselves a KO streak at 2, but now they need to score. TTV does have a little bit of a lead. Can TTV mount any kind of defense?
Well, there it is. That's a huge stopgap here, and they're going to be able to get a ton of points in his Ascendance. 10 seconds left, and we need to watch this thing. Hundo Burger comes in for their Ascendance. That gives them the lead. TTV needs to score back the other way. Plus 84 seals this thing up, no question. Ascendance wins this thing 2-0, and a game that they completely clawed back into this. Great work by your world champions of Pokemon Unite.
Ascendance wins it 2-0. The reigning champs from last week, TTV, are dethroned, and Ascendance is gonna win this one 606 to 266. An absolutely incredible game number 2 there. That was one of my most entertaining matches we've seen so far. Lutano with an impressive 15 knockouts in that game, but still not enough. The macro gameplay of Ascendance in those final 2 minutes, just too extremely strong.
15 KOs. Lutano really showing how strong Dodrio can actually be. However, in the face of this Ascendance squad who is moving so well, buying so much time in the right spots, able to claw back into it, Overlord sealing up objectives when they had to, find themselves into a promising position in that final Rayquaza fight and are able to leverage that to a big-time win.
There we go. Well, congratulations to the victors here. Ascendance, Faz / Overlord, Curios, and Elo, and of course Jungle Book in their first game of the evening. TTV put up a pretty impressive performance as well, but I have to give my biggest shoutouts to our newest victors and the final victors of Unite Mics Mayhem Season number 1, and that is Ascendance. Congratulations.
Congratulations to Ascendance. Zoinks, you're pulling it back to the booth here. So let's go through our final breakdowns first. I'm just going to thank everyone for stopping by for the last 4 weeks. Unite Mics Mayhem. We're looking to do another season. We're going to try and get that locked up, locked in, and of course, keep cool new formats rolling as we get more and more teams involved.
Absolutely. Thank you so much to the teams that have participated in the last 4 weeks. You have made it such a pleasure to watch your games. So much exciting gameplay has been happening, even in the off season of Pokemon Unite. I know it's a tough time to be in that off season. Not as many people playing the game, not as many people grinding, but the fact that people are showing up at our tournament every week, making the games competitive, making them exciting, is just truly a blessing we have in this community. So thank you so much for supporting Unite Mics and Unite Mics Mayhem.
I was trying to complete the prediction. I have no idea what I just did, so there you go. The prediction results were TTV. Those didn't come to fruition. Ascendance won. Clearly, we just watched that. Peace, love, and hugs. Zoinks, Dupe Snacks, and we'll catch you next time. Unite Mics. Over and out.
Peace.
Gotta catch 'em all.